And then she's all, I'm gonna come, I'm gonna come, I'm gonna come. And then my brother goes, things a girl has never said to me for 800, Alex.
um,
I'm just kidding.
Welcome to this episode of the Prestige-ish Media Podcast. I'm your host, Craig Lake, and with me is someone with the heart of a lion and the cock of a chihuahua. It's Dan McNair. Dan, how's it going?
Thank you for the opportunity.
With us shortly will be somebody who walks like her booty stinks, Jessica Z, but we still await her arrival. She is still walking this way, as Aerosmith used to say, and we definitely will want her feedback early because one of her favorites is here. But let's talk about just the episode in general. Dan, do you got early thoughts and a rating?
I gave it a 7.2. This show's a little different for me, and that's not necessarily bad. I think it's good to mix in some things, but a lot of times, for my mindset, I like a pretty tight narrative piece, and one thing that's put in there leads to another. And I like payoffs, and I like justification, and I like seeing the threads and pulling them through. And we're going a lot of different directions with a lot of characters in this season. So sometimes it's hard to do that and still check in with everybody. I like the death, and I like the Ali character, but it doesn't seem that the flashback of him necessarily tied into the rest of the episode a ton. And we get that in different spaces here. I do kind of get that he's trying to save people and he's trying to save Rue only for her to thumbs down and bolt. But they could have put that flashback in really any episode and it probably would have had a lot of the same net result. So sometimes watching this show just feels like instead of reading a story, you're just looking at a picture book and it's, oh, there's the picture from kindergarten next to the picture from high school. But there's no tie or connection between the two. So it's different. That doesn't make it bad. It's just not my normal narrative cup of tea.
Yeah, and I think to be fair, I don't know that I would have jumped into the last two seasons without us taking on this podcast adventure. I'm obviously very happy with the Cassie content. I have
Happy
to.
is one word for it.
Jessica Z, how are you this evening? Oh gosh, she's here. She's not here. She's back. What's up, Z?
She's in the dark.
Hi.
How is your daughter?
She had a fever all day. So it was cute because she was like,
A fever for a cowbell?
no,
Okay.
she caught it from a man down by the river.
A
Okay.
guy
Close
in a van
enough.
down by the river? Does she have does she have a boyfriend at Canal Days?
It was, no, a river, not a canal.
Oh. What's the difference? Does a canal go over a river or no?
A canal is hand dug. Not hand, like you can use machine.
Gee, like the Finger Lakes over here. So we're just getting into the episode. Z, initial thoughts and a rating for you.
Um,
The amount of times you've had act shocked by us asking for a rating at the beginning of the episode.
I'll
all
do
right.
this. Maybe it's good for anal. I'd give it a solid 3.
The yeah, the no, I'm not here to shame it. I am here to I think okay, the ending had me going crazy, so I raised it to a 7.5.
Okay.
Because I was like, nah about it until my heart was racing. So 7.5.
We were just discussing me giving it a 9, which is,
I believe that. I think it's crazy that you didn't even bother watching the rest of it and that you just watched that one part on repeat. That
yeah.
was my brother walked in as I was watching
Oh,
that part,
God.
and luckily
Uh,
he knows the show, and so I was just like, wow, she really will do anything on camera.
I assume we're referring to the scene where she comes a billion times, allegedly. But
Who came more, her or you, Craig?
we'll see by the time the day is out. The day is long. But yeah,
Oh,
I realistically think it was an 8.5 episode. I'm going to give it the 0.5 VIG for the Cassie stuff. But we were just saying one of Dan's criticisms, Jessica, was that he does feel like this is a little bit all over the place and it's not really tying together, which I don't disagree that it's all over the place, but I think they're tying it together as well as they can. In that, I think the Cassie stuff is all good. I think the Nate stuff has been diminishing returns, but how do you get the Cassie stuff without the Nate stuff? I think
Yeah.
Alamo's all been good. Tying them into this part of the narrative felt rewarding. Jules just calling in the background. I think we all generally agree. I think you guys both like Jules more than me, but this season just could have done without Jules entirely. She serves no purpose. So, in that regards, Dan, I definitely get it. Jessica, talk about this opening scene with your spirit animal, Natasha Leone. I think you're excited about
Oh.
seeing her this season. It would have been tough to make her fit in, but we get this Ollie
My spirit
flashback.
animal. My spirit animal doesn't smoke cigarettes.
I just feel like I felt like you talked her up big going into the season. Is that
I just
inaccurate?
I thought she was good in I think I've only watched her. Okay, so wait, was she in a Muppet movie?
I don't know.
He
She
was
was
in
in
American Pie.
I don't think so. Was she? She was too young to be in that.
I think she was, but I didn't recognize her from that either, but I do believe Dan is correct
Oh.
there.
Oh, I just know her from Orange is the New Black. She
Yeah,
was like a real stud there.
I think I more feel like she's just the type of character that's a good Jessica Z impression. I feel like one day if we got a season of Natasha Leone, you're gonna break out her or who was the gal, Deborah, the Jinx's wife, Deborah. I want to say
Oh,
Cataran or whatever, but I think you do an old northeastern smoking lady. I feel like that's in your wheelhouse of impressions. What did you make of this back scene entirely, though, Z?
I was disappointed to see Ali be a woman beater, but it was entertaining. Nice to see the backstory. I love to see know why addicts ended up alone.
Yeah. Dan, your thoughts?
I like the actor and I like the character. Not so big on spousal abuse, kind of like you. There was a little bit of Time Lord going on with his different hairstyles and stuff like that, where I'm like, okay, wait, now are we in modern day? Or no, we're flashing back. Now we're with the family. No, oh, we went back to another hooker. So there was a lot of just trying to overthink like where this was going and when it was ever gonna catch up to the rest of the story.
Dan's guest appearance as the Hooker Lord chimes in. I thought it was interesting, like they tied his name into Muhammad Ali, the boxer, a little bit. So I'd imagine that's where the inspiration for the name came from. One of the key lines that I've pulled already was heart of a lion, cock of a rhino, ears of a chihuahua. But also another banger of a line, what does he eat? Pussy and crack cocaine.
Oh, yes.
It was a playful open. Now, you text me, Jessica Z, that you don't like domestic abuse, but you also said, what if she's asking for it? I think is what you texted me. Is that what you said? That she was asking for it? I feel like you said.
Oh, about Ali's wife?
Yeah.
Yeah, just I don't know. How are you gonna disrespect a guy by walking away from the meal you cooked for him when he's just being rude to you?
when he's when he
It's
hasn't even changed clothes since
it's
banging a
gonna
hooker.
upset any man off, I suppose. Thanks for
uh,
reminding me of that text that I sent.
Obviously a fake text and we're making light of something terrible, but if you've never listened to our show before, welcome. So some other things, we get the scenes with Rue and Ollie. I thought these scenes were good. The actor who plays Ali talked a little bit in the after episode about how over the seasons him and Zendaya have gotten more comfortable together as they know each other better, and so they're able to deliver maybe more emotionally charged scenes. And I would agree. I think their work this season, we haven't seen a lot of them. We saw him at the diner and we saw him here, but I think both of those have definitely been good scenes. He does have a quote, changing his habits to heal his past. He talks to Rue about that later. I thought another good line when he was giving the advice to the younger kid, he said, hope ain't gonna stroll along and mug your ass. Maybe a little ironic when he told the one guy that hung himself to hang in there. I thought that was maybe a little on the nose. Not sure if you two caught that, but that was maybe less tasteful than our domestic conversation we just had. Any other thoughts here, Dan, on kind of this transition with him?
No, I agree with what you're saying about the Rue dynamic. I think it's funny that in subsequent shows we've had a sign from God, one being a burning Joshua tree and the other one being Elizabeth Shue's hoots. So put that up on the prestigious bingo card,
Yeah,
I guess, for the future.
I will say I think the burning bush was a little more earned. I thought there was also another good religious call out here that I'll mention later that I think would be tough to catch, but they really beat us over the head with the Moses of it all, so it was not lost on me. But I do think this show has done a pretty good job of disguising a few things. I still very much think that last episode, what Bishop said was him being tied to the DEA. And they just give us more about her mom this episode, and we don't see Bishop at all. I think it's totally obfuscation. We'll see if that's true. But I think the show is doing a decent job of not telegraphing all of its punches.
At the same time, I felt vindicated that she said they threatened my mom. And so I can
Yeah,
see
no, I
that
mean,
working on both levels.
yeah, no, and I still think that I've got the right read on it, but I like that they've really, and I think believably delivered it, so much so that I'm like, I could be wrong, and I still think that I could. I don't think I am, but they've done a very good job of hiding that.
The doubling down on it
Um,
almost makes it better to your reasoning.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm kind of saying. But there were
plus,
moments that I was like, maybe I'm an idiot. Z, go ahead.
nah, Rue was an idiot.
Um, we know you love her. So Alamo talks to, I forgot we finally got his name and then he was out for an episode, but the fake Cedric the Entertainer guy, he talks about
What was his name?
I just said I forgot his name, but he talks about the road to redemption and his tag. He's going to send him down to Mexico. I did think it was funny that Alamo, Jessica sharing her, that's your kid, right? Those can't be your monster feet.
Way to whore out your kids. Let me see
So,
them tootsies.
oh gosh.
Oh,
Alamo,
So
get off the call.
what is with old black dudes loving feet?
I didn't know it was an old black man thing, but
It is.
we did. I did think it was interesting that Alamo compared his colostomy bag to a new booty hole. And I do think there's a lot I like about Alamo. And obviously, you're not supposed to like this vengeful side of him. But I think him being so critical of the guy who got gutted from ass to elbows, maybe give the guy a break. I get he didn't guard the safe, but he's, as he said, got a new asshole. And he takes there, Jessica.
And I think he like knew he thought Alamo was gonna kill him. So I guess this is a little better.
Dan, your thoughts?
Title for Craig's next rap album: Ain't No Sick Days at the Silver Slipper.
Amen, brother.
Ooh.
That ain't no lies there. So the one thing I was kind of questioning, they showed the DEI had them mic'd, like possibly the guy with the new booty hole. So I was like wondering if they had made a deal with him as well, because
Oh my God, the microphone is in the
they obviously had audio of the van. It seemed that could just be a trick of the show editing, but I believe that's what we saw. So he's headed down to Mexico with the people from Lori's side. Now we get the scene with Rue and Lexi. You two are the biggest Lexi homers. Was this not Lexi's most Karen episode ever? One might argue some of it could be earned with calling all these people crazy, but she's equally annoying this episode, I feel, and maybe the most annoying she's ever been.
This was long overdue.
Lexi
So
would definitely cock block Craig from Cassie, and that's where his hate is coming from.
the fridge is always guarding the snacks, but
She
enough
would be
about
like,
Kat.
Cassie, go bring that man back to the nursing home, knock it off.
Actually, I did look up Sydney Sweeney's previous boyfriend before Scooter Braun was my age. So for the record, and I don't think actually better looking, but probably a lot more money. Yeah, I was not a fan of Lexi this episode. Obviously, Rue is being annoying because she keeps trying to talk to her about God while she's writing. So I totally get that part of it. But we see they're not in high school anymore, but this high school telephone game of nonsense that leads us down bad road alley eventually. What was your thought here, Dan?
I was afraid once the DEA came out that there would be, like, I couldn't trace exactly how it would happen, but I'm like, oh, that being out there is not good. It felt very ominous. I am not a Lexi hater. I think she's the one voice of morality in the entire show.
I think it's just like those people who put up with all the and one day they just lose their minds. And it's like, how about you just chime in once in a while instead of just giving us all at once? But I think accepted that her moral compass is better than most of the people here. But also is her sister's disappeared and she doesn't give a rat's ass. So
It's been like 24 hours. I haven't talked to my sister in a couple days.
you don't live across this like road from each other either.
I haven't seen my neighbor in a couple days either.
That's surprising. So Rue shows up at Cassie's. We haven't got a lot of Rue and Cassie together. This is obviously as close as we get, schedule wise, probably, but kind of interesting how they work this out.
Oh, wait, I heard that they don't get along. That's what my sister-in-law was talking about yesterday.
I think
That
that,
Sydney Sweeney and Zendaya don't work well together. They don't like each other.
yeah, I've heard different things on the set. I think I mentioned before
Zendaya doesn't
we
like
haven't
her.
dug too far into the show lore behind the scenes. But I have definitely heard that people don't get along. Unlike the girls of Euphoria, I don't get into all of the rigmarole of it all. And once again, so Lexi had no problem that her scene was accepted and that Cassie got fired. I don't know to what degree she knows about what happened with her OnlyFans. We do see Maddie kind of getting screwed by Cassie again, but these were her decisions in a different way. But she's called a modern day madam. They showed it in the pre-episode trailer, maybe a little anticlimactic, but Cassie talking about how she felt Maddie was going to slap her and Maddie saying she was going to beat her ass and in fact slapping her. I think their friendship borders on friendship and pimping her out. How comfortable are you guys with the dynamic between Maddie and Cassie?
I think this episode proved how much Maddie, for some reason, still cares about Cassie.
Do you think that she did that only for Maddie or possibly Maddie and Nate, that there's still some feelings there? I do feel like watching her open that casket that there's still a little bit of that there, more than nothing. Dan, your thoughts?
I think this was a good Maddie episode. I think it was a good Alamo episode.
I don't like them together.
Second episode in a row of girl on girl slapping, which is interesting.
This one
But
felt way more earned than last week's, to be fair. Go ahead.
I think with what we're presented with, where we're left off with Maddie from season two and her entering this friend group again, I was expecting a lot more vengeance and coldness from the Maddie character, but she does go out of her way to help and assist and do things to get Cassie back. And while it may be somewhat transactional, I think that the friendship is the cornerstone of it. So I give her credit because I was expecting this whole thing with the contract and her working her way between Nate and Cassie to be a lot nastier. And it's actually the other villains on the show that have taken hold of that.
Z, any more thoughts from you?
You're muted.
You're still muted.
Okay, no, like no other thoughts from me.
I think
I
the
was
part I'm
looking at
just
my I was looking at my sister's location to make sure she wasn't dead.
see, you do
And
care.
dude, she's in town. Didn't mention it.
Yeah, I think I was just most uncomfortable with the pseudo pimping and said pimp slapping being so close together, kissing sisters. But I do think that there is still a lot of love for Maddie and Cassie for each other. And you see Cassie, as she's so pissed at her, saying, "You're like my best friend," and her being so incredulous by it. But I think that is definitely seeing them two together and it not being as malicious is a positive. Once again, just it's so close to pimping that it makes me slightly uncomfortable, but it is what it is. We get a pretty good tell of where we're going with the scene with the 6'5" and the casket dog and pony show. I did think the Nate stuff just hasn't been great in a while, but us finally getting his end was probably a positive. I started on it earlier because we were in Allie corner, but we get the Allie and Rue conversations. She talks about the Bible verse, like, I heard your cries, I will lead you out of Egypt. And then he set a Joshua tree on fire. She talks about one last run, and then she wants to move to Texas to that homestead. So once again, like things tying together, I think that there are some threads there. I think the Rue storyline itself has been pretty well contained outside of Jules, like that side of the narrative. Any other exchanges on Rue's religion this episode or her exchange with Ali? The one notable quotable I had was just him talking about Moses didn't make it to the promised land. She said, now that's where we differ. He gives her the start with changing yourself. He talks about fentanyl, why kill the customers. We got two desert storm motifs with him. Earlier in the first part of the episode, there was a medal somewhere in his office or something, and now we get a more detailed look of that. Another quote from him is, if there's an inning, there must be an end. Dan, any thoughts here?
I think you already struck all the notes that I had down on that, so nothing to add.
Z, anything from you here?
Yeah, I thought this scene was very boring.
We got Kitty going to Mexico. I definitely would not send, but I guess the stupid thing we thought is that they were going to send girls back. Not like we thought, but it was first mentioned about sending them back with bags of whatever in their boobs and butts. But then that's when they mention doing the whole floorboard or whatever of the vehicle. So that's where they're going. But at first I was like, why are they going to destroy Kitty and one of their best money makers for this dog and pony show? That didn't make a lot of sense to me. I thought Marshawn Lynch, once again, he hasn't been on screen a ton, but his deliveries have not felt awkward at all. He's felt very natural, I feel. And we kind of get this weird scene where Rue hits her head on the dashboard so she can go back to Lori. I do think it's crazy her trying to go back to Lori in the first place, but I will mention as she's walking up to the property there, to me, it looks like you have a snake, possibly with its head cut off, that really borders between snake and rod. And there was a thing with Moses. I think it was like throwing a rod and it turning into snake or whatever. I think that was another Moses reference there, but I could be wrong. Any thoughts on her going back to Lori, Jessica? Didn't seem like it was a great idea.
It doesn't make sense to me. Are they allowed to do this? I thought that you had to stay loyal. And then once you weren't loyal, you couldn't go back to the person you weren't loyal to.
Yeah, I feel like the show at least acknowledges that, but it's a little plot conveniency. Dan, your
Like,
thoughts? Or you can finish.
One of my favorite Exodus stories is Moses and the burning bonfire when he cut his hand.
Yeah, that one was fun. Go
wait,
ahead,
is that
Z.
real?
No, that is not real.
Oh, because I was like, wait, damn, I didn't know you were religious.
They did say that, kind of like the Joshua tree last week, they kind of had this bonfire hooked up to copious amounts of propane so they could just load up the fire however they wanted to. Anything else here from you, Z?
It's almost like Rue grew up maybe without a TV and books.
It's possible. She was
Yeah,
homeschooled.
because it's just, yeah, wait, no, she wasn't. She went to the most cool high school in the world. I don't know.
Full
Yeah,
of drugs and dicks. Go ahead.
she just seems so naive. It's so stupid. And it's been 5 years. She's been in the game for so long. I don't know. I guess Fez couldn't teach her much at all.
To be fair, I think once again, they are 21, 22 in the show's lore, allegedly. Speaking of dick rates, Cassie's doing some of hers. Dan mentioned the 3 rating. Anything else you've got there, Dan?
No, it was interesting, like where the scene started and where it ended, though.
Her getting choke slammed through a table by that one guy, not Archer.
Which I
But
kind of wish I didn't see that in the previews for this episode.
yeah, I didn't really, like I said, I caught lines, but I didn't catch that specific part other than I kind of knew. Into the episode when they're telling her to answer the phone. I think the most shocking thing was her opening the door without really checking, was like, Cassie,
Which
you
was
dumb
my
bitch.
fear all along.
I know. I did wonder if I was like, did Dan's dumb theory come true? I was
Imaginary
starting.
points.
I thought it might have been happening for a minute, but once again, she's definitely not a good peephole checker. From Dan will have to give her some glory hole peephole tips. You got to watch what's coming through those things. Nate and his dehydration. When Rue was at the door, we get a scream and I'll cut your tits off. I did want to say the camera work and some of the ambiance of the episode, it still feels very good. It's very filmatic. I think the word I was looking for last week was the cinematography is great. But yeah, the show, I think, once again, I think it's a valid criticism of Dan's to say it's a little all over the place. But when it's delivering the good moments, I think it's delivering them well. And it's our second cutting your tits off reference 2 episodes in a row. Last week on The Boys, I think she said he'd cut her tits off and rip it through her vagina. And now we get a cut your tits off reference in back-to-back shows.
Did we
What's that?
did we already pass through like where the show creators don't want to cast Cassie anymore?
I did not hear that. Is that they've said that or what?
Yeah, when they told Lexi to call.
Oh, yeah. We talked about her having to fire her sister. I started to get into it, but we didn't go too far there.
I wanted to say that exactly what they were saying is probably the exact conversation the people at Apple had, or whoever made Margot Has Money Problems had about that OnlyFans chick that wrestled. Because they're like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
instead of having her, can you just cast someone who doesn't do porn?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they were like, oh, good idea.
I think that OnlyFans could be a lot of things, as Cassie told us in the first episode. It's not just porn, Jessica.
Cassie also showed us that it can't be many things other than porn.
That is a good reminder for the
Did you
Faye character's backstory. It's been a while since we talked about that actress, but Craig, didn't you point out that she actually got her start in porn and then transitioned to this?
Yeah, so I had
Chloe
said,
Cherry?
but also at the end of last episode, Jessica Z was trying to mention her IMDb history. I think her porn history is on her
Read it to
IMDb, but
us.
no, I think we can. I think one of it was like, I texted one of them, but it was like Big and Hairy 2 or something, or
Stop
like
it. It could never be.
it was like Petite and Hairy Part 2 or something was one of the
But
more
what
recent
seems
ones.
funny is Chloe Cherry's got to be a porn
It
name,
was
right?
my Harry Stepdaughters too. I agree, Dan. I also thought you could not be born with that name.
Yeah, and I think she's
You
done
would
a
think
good.
if you're getting into legitimate stuff, you just take a new name. Not, ooh, I've got all these porn fans that they're going to be confused. I got to keep it the same. Stay loyal to my peeps.
I can respect.
Whoa,
I
monsters.
I can Z, you're done. I can I can respect that she owns her background and she's moving on as a performer. I get what you're saying about changing your name, but she's obviously not scared of it, of Harry Stepdaughters Part 2. And I think there's something to be said for owning your shit.
She owns her background, but Wyatt owns her backyard.
Any other thoughts? I did have a note on this that big Nazi Burning Man, but just I don't think there were much there besides the eventual blood pact or the cutting of Rue's hand. Go ahead, Dan.
The thing I don't understand is why didn't Rue take the phone? She left it back in the truck.
I
Um,
think she
you would think
like
if you've got the DEA keeping tabs on you, you would want like an emergency out if
Were they
it
still
came to that.
listening?
but I think they were like, where's your phone? Like they would try to like access it too, or who knows. So maybe that's why. And as it is, it's in the vehicle with Marshawn Lynch getting whatever he's talking about. Probably, maybe. I don't know.
It's
The,
weird
the
that
whole thing,
Marshawn,
Go
wouldn't
ahead.
you be like, if I was G, I would be like, why is this bitch's phone in my car?
It had to have been like a plan. Leave your phone, rendezvous at 3 a.m. I don't know. I just don't know. But obviously, it's more plot convenience than plan. But
Do you think she was walking like her booty stank?
Oh, like she had a mic up her butt or what?
That's just what she said to her when she was walking away.
Yeah, that's how I introduced you before you got on.
Wait, really?
By the way, yes. Yeah, let's talk about the snake scene. I think this is a really, I don't want to overlive in the moment and call it like by all the time, I mean, a top 20 TV death scene or something, but like this was up there. One, I'm terrified of snakes. Two, I'm terrified of snakes going through holes. And we get a little bit of all of it here. Dan, any thoughts from you on the snake death?
The buried alive is bad enough as it is. Like earlier in my life, I wasn't at all claustrophobic, but now just the idea of being in a coffin and being who knows what 20 feet down, like that is terrifying. I can't even sit on the couch too long without getting some severe aches and pains. So being in a contraption like that for 72 hours, no thank you. And then yeah, you add in the snake, and I thought they teased it really well because you kind of see the snake as the brothers like driving his truck around the job site, and you're like, could that snake get to that hole? Nah, they
That's
wouldn't do that.
that's what
And then
she
I,
it
said.
I,
does.
but snakes live in holes.
Yes, they do. I thought it was like also still interesting with that snake and the rod thing earlier, as you had that dead snake on the ground while Rue's going in, and then you get this scene with the snake symmetry, if you will. Apparently, it was a python that actually went into the box with a fake rattler. So there was a real rattlesnake on the outside, but none of the crew or anyone was allowed to interact with that rattlesnake besides the handler, and then they dropped a real python down that hole. And as somebody who has had a python put down my pants, not just the one I was born with, but in a wrestling match, definitely a unique experience. So I could at least have some understanding of what he was going through there. Any
I
thoughts on the snake scene, Z?
I thought they wouldn't go straight up snake bite. I thought they were gonna get creative with it. The snake would try to go down the hole, but the snake's too fat and he suffocates.
Okay.
Um, and I also was like, when the snake was down there, I'm like, oh my God, stop moving, stop talking. I would just let the snake enjoy my warmth
Yeah,
and
that was my thing is once he was in there, I was kind of thinking he still might live until he
yeah,
didn't, but it's just chill.
I
Don't.
would have lived.
Yeah. Dan, your thoughts?
The
What?
snake starts to poise to strike, and I'm just like using my little wrist manacles to choke the little sucker. And then I'm
Okay.
gonna roll on top of it, and then I'm gonna crush the snake.
Dan's gonna gator roll this motherfucker.
I was also thinking, okay, brace yourself. As soon as you feel it cross your arms, you gotta choke its neck out.
Yeah.
You guys
Same,
are
Z,
putting up a
same.
good fight. I was gonna say
Squeeze
about
until you feel its eyes pop out. Do snakes have eyes?
that's what she said. Yes, they
Just
have
one.
eyes. Um, she like
Yeah.
she likes fat snakes and she cannot lie. Z's snake theory coming home to roost. We do finally get the revelation this episode with in front of Rue, they talk about Alamo selling girls and paralyzing them and then selling them out as like sex dolls, basically, which is what we're supposed to think happened to Angel. Is that her name?
Angel.
So, and then we see her come across Angel's ID later. So we don't see Angel die, but we do get a lot of bad news, context clues that we already knew. Any thoughts on that before I move on?
I just thought that was an interesting follow-up to what we had speculated about back in episode 2 or 3.
Z, anything from you?
I think that I've been saying Alamo was way scarier than Lori this whole time. And I think if Rue had just asked Lori about him, they probably would have told her, like, yeah, no, don't get involved.
Yeah, I still don't think there's a lot of winners here, but understood. Speaking of Alamo, he's not asking you to dip a toe, see, but he did ask Maddie. Maddie was told by the one neck braced stripper magic not to overthink it, trade 1,000 bad days for a good life. So she's supposed to put on this outfit and go meet Alamo in his spa. I did think Alamo just talking about nobody asking about his day was interesting, but then we get Maddie, for as smart as she is, talking about Rue mentioning the DEA and all the stress she's under. Alamo definitely couldn't have missed that. And that's all bad. I think the good news for Maddie is I think Alamo totally understands that she doesn't understand what was being said, but definitely bad news for Rue. Anything from you there, Z?
Oh yeah, Maddie definitely there on that one.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
I also, how dare this writer bring Maddie into this episode to lower herself to that. She has been, I think she has lowered herself to too much because she like makes other people do that. The worst we've seen her do is clean up dog shit, which I did for free every day. So like this is so beneath her. This is Cassie behavior.
She's obviously exploiting others. I think she thought she could navigate the scene to her advantage again, and it just and also she was put in a tough spot, to be totally fair. Dan, your thoughts?
I think this shows how far Maddie will go for Cassie. So
Yeah.
this, I
Yeah.
don't know that this was a strict money thing.
Yeah, I do want to say though, Maddie lost her job. That's part of it. Like all she has is making money off these girls. And as much as she has a different past with Cassie, like she's seen what she can get off her. I don't know that Magic and Kitty are going to pay off the same way that Cassie is. There's more of a proof of concept there. So I do agree that there's a mutual love there, but I think you guys are maybe Pollyanning Maddie's
But now
intentions just a little bit. Go ahead.
but now she owes Alamo $1 million. She's literally
Yeah, but she
in a
didn't
worse
know how that was
position.
all going to happen. But she knows from the other girl making 2 or 3 million a year or a month that she can make this money off Cassie.
I don't know. I would have just probably been like, you know what?
I still
Cassie
think
can
when you
handle this on
see
her own. I'm
her,
not gonna do it.
I still think when you see her help with the casket and the look on her face, that there was still some mutual affection there for Nate as well. Like that it was more than one feeling and more than one thing. Dan, go
Of
ahead.
course, had to be for a man.
Question for Craig. Which is scarier? The idea of a snake coming down a hole to your hole, or the idea of Sydney Sweeney's tits getting cut off? Which is scarier?
God, that's a tough decision. That's a real Sophie's choice you laid out there,
Why would
Dan.
you put that in his head?
You just ruined my whole night. I had a
The
different
boy.
prestigious question for you guys. What different foot references did we get? Did he just keep saying tootsies or footsies or dip a toe? On our It Welcome to Dairy coverage, I had a list of all my names for boobs. Are there other names for feet besides feet, tootsies, toes? Anybody got anything they want to throw out there?
Z calls them moneymakers.
Oh, there you
No,
go.
I call them piggers. I showed you guys cards.
Okay, piggers.
Piggies and pay pigs.
That you definitely should call Gary your own little pay pig in this year's Father's Day
I
card.
call him way worse, but that's actually great. Remind me in 2 years. I can't do another pig card. Then it starts to be rude.
Jessica doesn't want to repeat the bit too soon. Yeah, so we get this deal with Alamo. We kind of see, once again, I do think these are like the best of Tarantino type scenes, including feet, I guess. I didn't know if Levinston is just a real Bigfoot guy or if this just is more Tarantino lore. But we get Alamo sending Maddie out on her own. I guess it was very cold on set, which you don't see on screen, but just for reference, those girls were out there in the butt ass cold. And we get Alamo measuring the wind, which at that point, you know, he's probably going to fire a shot. But once again, I get Alamo's a villain, but when you see him come to the rescue of characters you like, you feel better about him. And the actor is just so charming himself that it's hard not to get lost in it. Any thoughts there, Dan, on this scene with the non-money exchange with Maddie and Cassie and Nassim and Alamo?
Hard not to get lost in it. R.I.P. Mr. Echo. I agree with the acting chops. I felt that Maddie was getting sent out as bait the same way Rue is. I thought there was a matching situation there. But yeah, in the villain tree, the Armenian guy, and I don't with Armenians either, was definitely one that you liked seeing get his just desserts. And I'm sure you did for the way that he was manhandling Cassie.
Yeah, I didn't even like the idea of cutting her up, so that was not cool. Z, what were your thoughts on that showdown?
If I was like the big Armenian, I would just shoot Alamo.
Did you guys think there was any way that Nate wasn't going to be dead?
I
Oh,
didn't
I
know
had him
how
done.
I didn't know how long it had been since the snake bite, but yeah, I just was like, first of all, I thought he was gonna kill the other guy, and then they would never even find the thing, so they would assume that he died underground, like of dehydration. But yeah, no, I didn't think he was gonna be alive. But I said to my brother, I was like, who do you think's gonna get accidentally shot, like Cassie or Maddie? But I was wrong about both of them.
Yeah, definitely glad they're both still around. I think to your point down, I think the Alamo thing was teaching Maddie a lesson. I do think he does have a soft spot for Maddie, like you mentioned, but we also know that he's not gonna trust no bitch ever again, or whatever the quote was. And so he specifically did say to her that about time your ass wised up. And so I think he's not just doing it to harm her, but he also is a person that knows how to extort control over somebody. And now he has full control of Maddie as well as Cassie, in addition to his other girls. Anything else there, Dan?
So is Jacob Elordi, is he like under quarantine or does he have restraining orders from the whole cast? Basically, the Nate character for 90% of the season has just been off on his own. And that
Yeah,
had to be part of the scheduling difficulty that they had with everybody.
yeah, I don't know what his relationship is to the rest of the cast, but certainly he had to have been filming Frankenstein for a while and Wuthering Heights. Like he has a pretty big movie career at this time, so I'm sure getting him in addition to the others was just as complicated. I will say I think it was a rewarding death. We didn't see a lot of the nasty Nate this season, but we got enough of it the last two seasons for it to finally feel rewarding, if not just to hear him shut the up. The yelling was a little much. I was actually getting ready to criticize the yelling in the whole scene coming back for a second pass until we got the snake, which I still think is a very memorable death. So we've got Rue and Faye. Wayne starts talking to Faye about like basically Nazis raising puppies and slitting their throats, and he wants her to do that to Rue. And so you can see Faye be like, okay, this isn't a good situation. So she talks to Rue about getting the money. What are we to understand here? Did Alamo's people already get to the money? I think that's why they got the no, because she had the drugs. That's why she was on the toilet last episode. So yeah, I just don't understand why the money's gone specifically here. I don't think Rue had anything to do with that. Also, Keymaker, pretty shitty, didn't do a great
Yeah,
job.
3D printing.
Yeah, and we end up with Faye is gonna rat out, and she's like yelling Wayne as the episode ends. Z, you said your heart was a flutter and a fire at the end. You're ready to do like a Cobra Kai scene. What was your thoughts at the end of this episode?
I was just like, just go, just leave. Steven, wouldn't you just leave? Wouldn't you leave if that was you? Just go. And then yeah, I think at this point, both of them just deserve it. And then, yeah, I was just like, go. I thought it was nice that Rue wanted the IDs because I think she's actually concerned about what's happening to girls with both groups. And yeah, I don't know, it was nice that she was concerned about that, but she's putting like her own life at risk. Just go. He's sleeping right there. I was going crazy.
Dan, your thoughts?
I'm trying to remember when Alamo gave Rue the instructions. Was it to get money or was it to get whatever was in the safe?
Yeah,
Does he
maybe
have some inkling that the IDs are there and that's kind of why Rue grabs them because those are valuable to him?
interesting. Yeah, I could see that being what she's going to do for him, but I could also see what Z's saying, which is I think she's finally putting the angel pieces of this together, and I don't think that's going to sit well with her, but that may have been the intent. I'm just trying to understand. Faye's the one that said there was money. If there's no money there, it's not Rue's fault.
But we've seen a shit ton of money in there.
Yeah, and we know that Rue has screwed Faye multiple times, but I don't know, and maybe is still to screw her, but I don't know specifically this scene was her screwing her. And you can kind of see
All they
Faye's confusion as she flips on both of them.
There was a moment where Faye gets Rue out of the room, and I'm wondering, so is Faye just gonna double cross Rue right now, and this is her killing the puppy? And then I'm like, no, Faye's not that character. But I did have that thought for a moment. She was gonna double cross Rue
I
right then
could
and there.
see that, and then she'd be like, "Didn't I do a good job, Wayne?"
I do think the way the character described it, Chloe Cherry, in the after the episode, was more or less my understanding of what she was saying was that she thought she was going to get this money and be rich and have $1 million. And then I hope you're hungry for absolutely nothing is what happened to her. So, yeah, it just doesn't seem like this can end up going too well. But the show's actually, we've talked a lot previously about shows painting themselves into Breaking Bad like corners, and that being one of the best shows ever, and specifically that and Better Call Saul, out of painting characters out of positions. And this season alone, Rue's had her head in a hole. Now she's in another situation. So I do think it's an interesting exercise in like how are how is she or they in different instances going to get out of some of these corners they painted them in. Wrapping up, I feel like we got a lot of action with more action to come next week. We finally got a death. I feel like they've built the story, and next week's going to deliver even more action for you guys. How are you feeling going into the last episode, Dan?
I think I'm just ready for it to be over. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just, I think that the story has brought us to a point where, okay, I'm ready for this. I don't feel like there's a ton of unanswered questions or I have a laundry list of demands of what I need to see out of the last episode. The show's been so all over the place that I'm ready for whatever. I'm almost like a victim of abuse where I'm just ready for whatever they're ready to hand me. And if you are a victim of abuse, text Euphoria to 77077.
I think it's like 74441 or something. Don't use us
Text
for
Prestige
Oh
don't
and
my
give us
God,
use
five
us
no,
stars.
don't use us
wait.
for real suicide advice. Z, go ahead.
Text Euphoria to then give Craig's number. Craig, you can meet chicks this way.
More stable chicks than ones I've previously dated. So the
I
only
think
other
this is your market.
Dan might say
Yeah,
that
girls
this
that can take a punch. Yeah, just kidding.
good God. See, shame on you. Hell of a punchline
Oh,
though. So
don't shoot the messenger.
Donkey punch, ladies and gentlemen. Donkey punch.
If I don't see Alamo get on a horse next episode again, I'm gonna turn it off.
I think that a whore or a horse. I think
Do not
that
talk about Maddie that way.
I did not specifically talk about her. He may
Could have
see
been magic.
many
Oh,
horses.
wait, what was Magic doing this episode?
Could have been
She
Kareem.
she just told Maddie to put the outfit on and not to overthink it, like trade 1,000 days for a
Oh,
good
right,
life.
yeah.
I guess we didn't talk, and I know we're wrapping up, but I guess we didn't talk enough about the Sydney, Sweeney, Maddie, and because I think, didn't want to delve too much into the climaxing of it all, but the creative way for Maddie to fuck over this Dylan character and kind of fuck over the show's creators by orchestrating this. Obviously, Cassie takes it to another level by texting from his phone the picture of them in bed. That is something that
Oh,
women
yeah.
have done with celebrities.
It
I
was
mean,
an
that's
Instagram post from his account.
yeah, but that women have done that in life. I think she did a pretty good job of obviously fucked up to do it to somebody, but the scheme of like her and Maddie and Cassie afterwards
Kevin
celebrating.
Hart
Did that happen to him?
in Vegas. I thought, okay, so what happened was it like a model took a video of them having sex and then
Uh-huh.
threatened to release it if he didn't pay her $4 million or something. And I think he like is, oh, I don't like just have 4 million in cash, or like my wife will probably notice if I like send someone this.
Yeah.
And so that's why he like came out and with a statement about how he told his wife that he cheated, and that's why like he had to come out with a statement about it.
Hard times there. Friday, we will cover Widow's Peak and jump into that for a few weeks before
Widow's Bay.
hibernates for a few days. Yeah, that too. Whatever. All the widows. We're going to cover them all.
How many episodes do we need to be through? Because I've slept through 2.5.
There's 2 coming out Wednesday, so there will be 7 by the end of the week, and then we'll only have 1 a week after that. Anything wrapping up the episode for Yuzi? Anything you're looking forward to besides Alamo riding a horse next episode?
Gosh, I could really go for a second horseback riding scene. Maybe him and Bishop on different horses. Like,
how did your horseback riding go in Tennessee? Could you in fact ride the big boy?
We were gonna go in Kentucky, but it was storming like crazy. There was like 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and shit, and actually tornadoes that night.
So you guys didn't get to ride the big boy, huh?
I just was trying to like drive without actually being able to see anything because it was crazy.
I just had this vision of Z participating in the Kentucky Derby, and she's got a gigantic ass hat and a mid-jump, and she's riding a horse, and instead of the riding crop, she's just beating the damn horse with her feet.
Maybe I thought you were gonna say that giant thing that Cassie used. Did you see it make its appearance?
I did think that I did have some note of Maddie trying to get all Cassie's shit into the room so that Dylan could come over.
It was like right there while the Armenians were in the room, and I was like, how is no one talking about this?
Good Lord Almighty.
That big ass riding crop sitting right there.
So
I did enjoy the whole finger in the freezer ice bit.
I thought she was gonna hear him scream while she was posting that.
Yeah, the finger definitely was crazy.
And
you could see how bummed she was, not about what happened, but just that the freezer was like out and rotting or whatever.
Yeah, that now it's past, it's expired, and that was funny. That's what I thought was so funny because she didn't care that he might have seen the finger or he drank out of the finger. Like, oh my God, the whole thing.
Yeah, that is disgusting. The more you think about it, for sure.
Great comedic, really. I don't know. The whole, yeah.
That could be your new tea for prestigious.
Z, you're not wearing your tea.
We got finger juice.
You're not wearing your tea, D. Z, tell Dan about it.
I wore it yesterday to Gary's sister-in-law's house. She had
This is your birthday tea from Craig that you got a month after your birthday?
Yes, I did. Yes,
they tried to steal it because they wouldn't ship it for 3 weeks. I had to complain.
Sydney Sweeney with an American flag backdrop. It was like the good jeans pose, I think.
You said, my county votes very blue. You're trying to get me shot.
Yeah.
And I said, anyone who shoots you for wearing that is gay. And she said, I'm going to put that on the back.
Wait, I wore it over to my sister-in-law's. I ended up being very cold at her house. So I had to put on a sweatshirt. And then she went to take a picture of everyone at the table. And I said, oh, hold on, I have to take off my sweatshirt. And then she goes, oh, hot, to show up your hot girl shirt. And I was like, Sweeney. And then she goes, oh, is it? And I was like, you just thought that I was random. So my brother-in-law didn't recognize it either. And then he was like, oh, that's sick. I want that. I'm going to order one. Oh, you should probably send me the link. But yeah.
So now, do Eleanor's handprints cover the boobs? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, her handprints are under the shirt.
Who's more excited for this shirt, me or Eleanor?
My brother-in-law.
Okay. So yeah, I think that about does it this week. We are wrapping up this show. So last week will be the finale. Go ahead, Z.